Minutes from September. And next up, we have a presentation.
Presentation. Let's see.
Do you want the,
This, slide of image.
The map. Yeah.
It's loading.
Do I have to hold this to the top?
No, you do not.
Ah, cool. That makes life easier.
Right, okay. We'll find out before we go into it.
okay, so we have NOAA debris removal grant.
Yeah. So, hi, my name is Dane Rasmussen. I'm the Ox Creek project manager for the city of Benton Harbor. If you haven't met me, that's who I am. That's what I do. And today I just want to do an update on our marine debris removal grant. So there's no action needed today. I am interested in some feedback from the committee if you have any questions or things that I can take back and work on. So a little brief overview of the marine debris grant it was awarded in September 2024. The commission approved it. The project period is from October this year through September 2027. So we have a few years to work on this. The total amount is just over $1 million. The majority of that funding is going to go towards contractors to carry out the work. I would say it's just over $900,000 is going towards the actual contracting. We'll be working with Evan Marsh to oversee this project. Did we just sign an agreement with them, Mr. Little?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we just got that on the books. So the goal of this grant and the parameters are to clean up garbage that's within the creek, within the valley, specifically debris that is only on the surface. So we won't be doing any excavating. It's just the debris that's on the surface. And the map that's up on the screen has a couple of access points. So those are not necessarily the cleanup spots, but those are where these machines will be gaining access into the creek valley. So I just wanted to give an update. This work is probably going to start at the end of next year, so October, November, December of 2025. So we won't see any machines on the ground, but there will be some preliminary walkthroughs with contractors and some tree work done just so that they have access, and all of the permitting for SHPO and NEPA and all of that has to be done first. So there's a lot of hoops to jump through, but just there's movement happening in the Ox Creek, and we're excited to be able to clean up some of this debris that's been there for over a century. What else? So of the access points, the grant covers the space from Highland Avenue all the way to Napier. However, the bulk of the debris is between Highland and Empire, and that's where we're going to be focusing with these contractors. The access points have to be accessible by like a skid steer or bobcat and some other smaller machines, and then they will also be doing some hand picking. This grant also incorporates collaboration with community-based organizations and volunteers to do some hand picking as well. So there's going to be opportunities to engage the community in how this is done, what's done with the debris. We will be attempting to recycle and repurpose materials when it is feasible. However, from my anecdotal surveying of the debris that's out there, there's a number of hazardous materials like old oil barrels and things like that that obviously won't be able to recycle. So the access points that are on there, just to run through the list there. Valley Drive is a real hot spot that we want to get cleaned up. We'll be able to access that from both ends of that. The Britain access will be off of a city property that's just off of the bridge on the west side of the bridge there. Sorry, the north side of the bridge, but the west side of the creek. There are 3 dead-end alleys or streets on the west side of the valley: Whitcomb, Cedar, and Vineyard. We're hoping to be able to reach some of the debris from the top so that we don't have to be so invasive with the machines. And then the Highland access. We think that those 5 areas will be sufficient. So yeah, so that's the brief overview. If you have any questions, I can try and answer them now. If not, I'll take them with me and I can come back another time.
So I've had 2 questions. The first one is most of the debris from dumping? And then the second one is, what are you gonna be doing with the other 100,000 that's not going to contractors?
So, can you repeat the first question?
Oh, sure. I was just wondering if most of the debris is from like dumping.
Yeah, so the vast majority of it is illegal dumping that's been happening for decades. And as part of this grant, we'll be working on some solutions for preventative infrastructure and education to try to curb that issue so we don't just clean it up and then have to do it over and over and over. And then the second part of your question?
You mentioned the 900,000 is mainly gonna be for the contractors. What's the other 100,000 budgeted for?
It'll go towards the education portions. I don't have the budget in front of me, but it's the other aspects of the grant requirements.
Just have several questions. One, piggybacking, separate from my question, education, who's being educated?
So the scope of the education for this grant is going to be community-wide. So it'll be youth, but also the average citizens, trying to create opportunities so that people know where they can take their garbage if they have bulk garbage, give opportunities for proper disposal of those items. So it'll be community-wide education, all ages, all demographics.
Okay, education seems like, so you're educating about dumping and where you can properly dump.
That'll be one aspect of it, yes.
The other aspect,
And part of it will be educating people to call when they see somebody dumping, get their license plates, take a picture of it or whatever. We've got to stop the dumping in that valley. In fact, in the city, period, where it doesn't belong.
okay, so mainly it's a $100,000 to educate people not to dump and report dumping.
That's a very generalized version, but yes, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the budget right in front of me. I can certainly give that to you another time. And the education strategy for this grant has not been set in stone yet, so we're open to suggestions. And there are lots of different ways we can go about this.
Okay.
Some of it also will go to administration overhead.
Could you repeat that?
And some of it will also go to administration overhead.
And the budget for this grant was approved by the council, so it's been accessible. It's nothing new here.
Okay. You're saying late October, we're kind of late October now, but you're saying there was some hoops that had to be jumped over. Late October, how long would you estimate this project? Because before you hit winter, because you're going into the October, going into the flu season, you're going into
So machines on the ground, October 2025, so next year. But we just got this grant awarded in September.
Correct.
We're starting to go
in
through.
October 2025, what's the estimated work time that you allotted?
We have until September of 2027 to complete the grant. So
All right, so what you're saying, you'll get the machines on the ground in October 2025, and then you're not sure how long it will take to surface clean the Ox Street, but you have that time limit.
Let me help a little bit with that. You'll be able to do that between October and April because Michigan has a bat law that's the only period in which you can remove trees if you need to and that type of thing. And some of this cleanup is going to require cutting paths through, which will mean removing some trees and so forth in order to do it. I asked the question myself about whether or not we could do anything to enable us to take advantage of the period we're currently in until this coming April of 2025. But the NEPA, National Environmental Review Act requirements and all of that kind of stuff that's necessary is going to take up that time between now and October next year.
Okay. The surface cleaning, based on what you're saying, that one is kind of like the skimming. So that will take care of surface layers of any oil-based and floating objects, plastics in particular, woods, and making it still environmentally safe. Because we're trying to move into that, trying to revive these lakes and streams and that situation to do that. So it's a surface clean or, and when I say surface cleaning, there's some devices now that actually go and clean the surface, pulling in trash, putting the water back in. Then there's a skimming, and then there's also where they, you put it as check certain points where you catch the trash at that spot, then come back, lift it up and collect it. Is that going to be a variety of collection items, or you have a system?
So when we put the contract out for bid, it'll be open to a variety of companies, and they will bring forth the technology that they have at their disposal. In the grant proposal, it was written very vague so that there was a wide option for contractors.
Okay, last question. So with the hand picking, and then you implied about using the community. Now, is with the grant monies and stuff, will the community be these seasonal temporary workers, or are you trying to ask the community to come out and volunteer?
It'll specifically that is yet to be determined. I'd like to see both options.
But I think it's important to note, though, hand picking is going to be very limited for the safety of the people involved. Red Valley, you've got everything from stoves, refrigerators, car parts, tires, you name it, and it's in there. And we don't want to have put people in a situation where they're trying to hand pick stuff that may hurt somebody or cut somebody or something like that real bad.
Okay. Last question. We go following up on the cleaning. We're talking about the hand picking. And you're talking about the heavy machinery. Some communities, some countries, what they do based on what you were saying is based on that type of thing. They use the heavy magnets to pull up the heavy bulk and use that, dump it back to transplant. But then the actual cleanup, environmental cleanup, normally you have to get down to the nitty gritty. Unless you're going to filter the soil, you have your workers go out there and they sift and get the glass and get those things up to make it renewable and environmentally safe. Are those things still to be worked out?
Yeah, so the focus of this grant and what NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they are concerned with large items, couches, cars, refrigerators, big items, and that's why we were awarded this grant, was to go after those items. When they're working in those areas, they will try to get everything, but they'll be focusing on the big items. We have other grants that are focused on the habitat restoration. There is some aspect of that in this grant, but there's another significant grant that covers the habitat restoration.
Okay, so there's two components. One is bulk removal, and then going back for, environmental, renewal, because that's the new thing, and reestablishing the environment.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up. Commissioner Adams, is that why you're at the table?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair. Excuse me. Well, I came down to tell you
Don't
something
hit the
different. I am a mic. How you doing this evening? But I heard some things and it was really Valley Drive that caught my attention. Are you all aware that then Al Pashoka, state representative, had secured $64,000 to clean up Valley Drive after they tore down the, of contaminants, just the land itself. The dumping, no. As an ex-elected official, setting co-chair economic development for 8 years, legislation, I've tried my best to do exactly what I'm hearing all over again. And it seems to keep coming up every 3 years. And hopefully under different and new administrative help, that it will be a thing of the past and not just coming up with ways to circulate or circumvent funding or something that just the need is still persistent on needing to be done. And I'm basically talking about the dumping of this specific area. The residents have spent a lot of money, either taxpaying dollars through the city, to clean up that valley of stoves, refrigerators, and all of that. And we did it. But the thing that didn't happen, and I think that it has to play a part with public safety. You see those beautiful big concrete barriers up on the city's property on the side of BJ's? I know some people just hate me. I wish I could get some stuff too, though. But those are the barriers that I pleaded with public safety, our public works, previous city managers to put some barriers. Don't let it keep costing us. Put some barriers up when we spend our money. Does that make sense? Put some barriers up.
We have barriers.
Okay, then that those are jokes. That's what ex-city manager did, a joke. Put some gates up. I don't know, it may be different now.
These are concrete.
Okay, they finally put them. Thank God, okay. So now my question becomes, I've spent 2 days with superintendent and we've been talking about job training and stuff, and hopefully that this is an opportunity to not only work with the school, which we've been trying to do for every bit of 14 years now, and maybe that time is now, that we can actually do some things and take those big items like stoves, refrigerators, and maybe break them loose or something and get whatever materials that may be recyclable and use them. I think that may have something to do with the CHIP Act. I mean, we got some very bright young children that are working mechanically, with getting into the trades of engineering. And if we don't start thinking outside the box, then we never will have a workforce. I'm just saying that it's time to do things different now. Not only me, I'd hate to look at anybody that goes over the same thing, same conversations over and over for years and sometimes decades to no avail, looking like hamsters on a wheel. That's not me. That's why I make it my business to be a sponge and absorb information and hold on to it so that it's relayed when possible. I have something else, but it can wait. But we're on the right track, and I want to thank you. I really do appreciate that, and maybe more help is what we needed to put this thing into better perspective.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Adams.
You're
So
welcome.
Mr. Little addressed that we already have barriers, and then Dane, if you can just take her comment about when we're doing the education, make sure we have some youth, or we can work with getting some high school students to be in the education portion. Does anyone else have any other comments before we move on? Oh, Dr.
Yeah.
Jones.
Now, in 2010, we actually, and Commissioner, Henry was there, and was part of like an anti-riot program back then. And they actually took the older 18-year-olds and 21-year-olds, and what Commissioner Mary Alice was talking about, they actually helped to remove a lot of debris. And people went back in there. So this is something that was done before. They did a cleanup, and then it was redone. So there is a precedent for actually using your 18-year-old and older youth as like a summer job program, and that's what was done by Ron, the city manager at that time from Chicago, that massive job program. So that could be maybe done in conjunction as a sustainable program for that summer, because you're going to have some finesse. Some you can do bulk, but then there's some things that you can't use a backhoe or a plow to try to do. You're going to need some precise human labor. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Henry.
Talking to the mic. Right.
Yeah.
Good clerk.
Thank you. I'm gonna bring this question up all the time. You're writing out a contract for Evermarch to get bids in. Where is the 25% contract? Is it written in the document? And is Section 3, because there's another avenue for us to work Section 3. Right now, we have plenty of apprenticeships that are down at Michigan Works or whatever, Connections, and they're just waiting for an opportunity to use those skills. So I'm asking through the chair and the city manager to make sure that kind of language and understanding that the city needs to be able to provide training for our residents if they're not given the opportunity to work or train with any entity that's getting money from the government. We should require that something is come out of it for the people. Over $800 billion have been spent and not 25 jobs. And that's a shameful thing. And for our economic development department, I mean a straight up economic development department that is so vital for our residents, that has failed us for years. And now we've got new talent in there. I'm looking for better results. I don't care if they heard, because they do what they do. But
I heard majority of it, and I've heard you give that speech before, so I'm very familiar with it.
and it doesn't go away, and I still have not gotten a report. And through the chair, this has been requested through your chair and quite a few more chairs for city manager to explain to us about Section 3. And he has not done it yet. So I'm asking through your chair to please. He said 2-3 weeks. That's not working.
So, Mr. Little, do you have any comments on Section 3? And then, do you have any comments specific to this contract? Is that considered?
The requirements for hiring local residents would definitely be in there. As far as what the Commissioner said about my reporting back on Section 3, she's correct, and I am tardy on it. And that's because all of my efforts of recent have been concentrated on several of the priorities, one of which is before this committee tonight, and that is the water contract. The water situation was what it was when I inherited this. and I'm required to see it through to an end. And, up until, 20 minutes after 5, I was just finishing getting this ready to get it into you. Now that, or as soon as we got this out of the way, I'll be able to return my attention to, section 3, and I promise I will get that information to you.
So, Mr. Little, can you give her like some approximate timeline?
2 weeks.
Okay, so 2 weeks.
Unfortunately, 2 weeks is a long time to go without. So I accept his, where he is, and I know that he's a busy person. But my research and anyone else's research on HUD Section 3 says that we are entitled to these privileges, and that last drawdown, that anybody gets anything out and they don't produce what we need, it's supposed to be our authority to do that. And for us to have over $80 billion of work and only 25% of it is to the resident, it's shameful. It's
So
just shameful.
we appreciate your comments, and we're gonna give Mr. Little grace because he is wearing 2 hats. So we're gonna give him the 2 weeks.
Madam Chair,
And then we're gonna get the information that we need.
Can
We
I
have one last comment. Then we're gonna have to
shed
move
some
on.
light on this subject that she
Oh,
just asked about,
okay.
that I just recently learned about?
Okay.
And it's actually nationwide when it comes to federal funding.
Okay, so this is our
In
last
section-
comment under this.
And I heard you,
And
I heard you. If I can finish though, because I think it's very important, because I myself have pushed the very thing that she's asking for and requesting to city management that takes care of day-to-day operations, which is exactly why I tried to push legislation to change the way that the people's block grant dollars come into this community are handed out. And I still think it needs to change. But there's something going on nationally that I don't think everybody know about, but you're about to, because there's a whole bunch of people all over the nation under the Justice 40 initiative that's having the same problems in their respective communities, and it's about to be a demand that those federal funds go towards what they're supposed to.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. And
You're welcome.
Dr. Tynes just went to HUD.gov, and he just pointed out that Section 3 is on there if anyone needs to look at it right now. But Mr. Little has said he will follow up with everyone in 2 weeks, so we're gonna give him the 2 weeks to follow up with us. And with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and move on to new business. First up on the agenda is the approval of Omega Psi Phi adoption of Riverview Drive's care and maintenance.
President, we have Mr. John Holmes here with us this evening from Omega Psi Phi.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is, John Holmes. I'm the local chapter president for Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I spoke with several members of the commission, including Mr. Little, several weeks ago about Omega Psi Phi partnering with the city. We came up with, I think, a creative or ingenious idea that we want to be more visible in our community. We are a community service organization. So with that being said, what I proposed to Mr. Little was that we adopt a highway, so to speak. So all of Riverview Drive, we want to mow and do the maintenance for that for year 2025. So we're pretty excited about it. It's not costing anything other than a little bit of time, and that's okay. We're in it. It's been a while since our fraternity has really been active in our community, and I think with you guys' blessings that we can make this this dream come to fruition. So
On behalf of the city, we certainly appreciate your fraternity stepping up to Riverview Drive. It will be a great help to the city, and it's something that we've needed for some time. Various social clubs and other fraternities, sororities, and so forth to chip in and help, as we need citizens to also do in their neighborhoods and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. Thank you and have your time.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Going back, we had a program where we kind of adopted the parks and Commissioner Henry and Mary Alice. And at that time, we ran into and we had park recreation side thing, and it's a great idea, but the thing that happened back then was that barriers were kind of placed where individuals like myself and our group, we tried to adopt the park right on Empire, Broadway, Empire and Pipestone and Side Street, Weld, and to take care of Sykes Park, that park. And we being 501(c), they want to make sure that people were insured and bonded and all of that. And then the option was to pay into that consortium group of the parks versus just people doing the work. I think now that's been removed. I just want to make sure there's no hidden cost agenda. The second point was that so this is making sure that there's maintenance, and Mr. Duncan has always pointed out, he's a fisherman, that this is just enhancement and not restriction. We know that when Whirlpool first moved down there, some of their riding around security people kind of intruded on some of the fishermen's fishing time or activities to get them to realize that that area was still available to them, that the whole Riverview was not owned by Whirlpool. So I think we may have been moving forward. I just want to make sure that we're just here for maintenance, and I want to make sure from the acting city manager that there are no barriers to them, and even maybe helping out with garbage bags or whatever, that their role is for the maintenance and beautification of the Riverview Park, and that they also be allowed to put a little sign up, maintenance by Alpha Side Phi. No, what are your Omega Side Phi? That's not a Q dog, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so yes, excuse me on that part, on the Greek stuff. I'm Egyptian, but thank you.
So you're welcome. I can assure you there won't be any cost on Omega Sci-Fi's behalf.
No, I'm asking to make sure from the city
Okay.
that there's no barriers, because like I said, the previous city administration had the barriers of you wanting to be bonded and all this other stuff in order to maintain the parks. So I want to make sure that we're clear that you're doing this, that there are no other hidden items, that you're free to move and to clean and not have to be bonded, insured, and those things, and that information, coming up later. I just want everything up front, fully transparent. That's all.
So
We will handle that. There'll be-
So let me answer part of that for you. So in terms of bonded, when I submitted this proposal, it didn't just go to the city of Benton Harbor. It actually went to our international headquarters. Everything that we do, we have to run it through IHQ before we do it. So again, we are a community service organization. There's things that we do in terms of financial aspects, that when you see us out having golf outings, that's how we raise money for our scholarships. I don't want to get off in the weeds, but there's certain things that we do. Even with that, when we do those events, we have to go through our headquarters to
Thank you. It's not about you, it's about if that was to be a thing that the city would be telling you now, not you telling, I understand your, Q-Dog activities, my friends with Q, my best friend, went to medical school with. But the thing is, I want to make sure that this was as clear, that this was just a simple contract agreement, that as you stand as an organization, that there are no additional requirements of those volunteers, of that working to maintain and clean those park areas.
Dr. Tans, we got this.
I want to say that are there no barriers to them working and doing this? Do they have any requirements that they have to fulfill?
No requirements beyond what they've offered to do.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
One last comment from Commissioner Adams.
Thank you. Is this sorority a 501c3?
Please speak.
And I thought that we were talking about.
Mike, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Mary Alice Adams. I've long been not a resident. Ex-commissioner, lifetime commissioner, well-earned title. Are we talking about the park or the maintenance of the street? I think I missed.
We're talking about the maintenance of the street on both sides.
Okay.
All the way down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Including up to the park.
Okay, so now I should ask the other question. Is your organization through the chair a 501c3?
Yeah, he
Yes.
said he was.
Okay, excuse me, I'm up here. I am, okay.
John, Mary.
I'm trying to get clarity from up here. Please. Okay, so that being said, I'm trying to put things in perspective in my mind, if I may.
You may.
So because of a previous conversation I just recently had with our superintendent, because we have properties down there. So I'm just in my mind mapping out some things. So I'm glad that you're 501c3,
Mhm.
and I'm sure we'll be seeing you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Adams, and thank you.
All right.
This is item 1 and 2, right?
Just item one. Just item one. right now.
I think item 1 and 2, this thing on scale?
Yeah.
Gotta hold it,
And I don't need
take a lot of money to hold something. Item 1 and 2, don't they pretty much go together?
Yeah.
So there's no use in them leaving now. Well, item 1 and 2 going together, is that new business, item 1 and 2?
Just, what is item?
So
two?
item-
I have a copy.
Oh, no, I just asked you,
That's-
Alpha.
Oh, that's a different award.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
correct.
sorry.
But
You Omega and the Alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Alpha and Omega, all right.
So we're just on one right now. We're finishing up one.
correct.
So this is basically just to adopt a park,
Yeah, they're redundant, so they're similar. So, but
but you guys are adopting the park to just clean it up,
that's all.
and
That's
there's no liability.
Actually,
Correct.
really,
Street.
Push from Main Street up to.
Yeah, you gotta press your button.
Is
You gotta hold your button.
it considered a
And then
highway
repeat what
or
he was
local
gonna say.
street?
So Riverview,
So we're gonna do
all right,
Riverview.
do me a favor, y'all, I'm here now. Y'all know how to run this meeting. And I don't do all this other stuff y'all doing. All right, so this is Riverview,
Yes.
this is Riverview Drive.
Correct.
And y'all gonna put your sign up and say y'all gonna take care of the trash, like the highways and all that.
Correct.
Is that what y'all doing?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yes.
All right, and so there's no liability or anything that the city has to have anything to do with it, just gonna put y'all sign up and say y'all gonna adopt to it,
That is correct. Yeah.
right?
So this is more about one of our mandated programs, which is community service, and that we're just fulfilling that mandated program.
All right. So, do we have consensus to move this
We're
forward?
gonna move forward with a point of clarity, Honorable Chair. They're also doing the lawn service alongside the road, so that's gonna be helping.
Yes.
Yes. So it's not just cleaning the roads, it's also doing a lawn service, so it's a great service to the city. But we do have Yeah,
Well-
I'll put a motion forward to move it forward.
Well, with that being said, that they're gonna start doing Riverview Drive, that'll no longer be a contractual landscaping thing. Is that
Oh,
correct?
okay.
Like the city benefits by not having to pay to have that done. And I think that's their intent, to try and help the city and to beautify that area.
So only thing the city's providing is just the ability for you to put up a sign to say that you guys adopted that.
That is correct. And we talked about possibly using U-Haul lawnmowers. So we're going to have 30 people out there. So if you have lawnmowers available, it won't stop the project if you don't have them. We just have to figure out a way how we'll get them here. So there's
So out of 30 brothers, y'all don't got a lot.
well, I mean, you're talking about professional men. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
so-
I think that for somewhere we can find a lawnmower, weed whacker or something.
And we'll also pick up the trash when they
that's correct.
take and put it together for us.
But they will pick it up and put it in a reasonable, thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mr. Duncan, and then let's move forward, please.
You can move forward real quick. There's a lot of bird poop on the river. And I don't know if this, I hear you say you're gonna cut the grass. We asked a long time ago about putting some kind of barrier up or doing something for the birds, for the lice and all that, when they started putting the kids swing or whatever it was down on the end of Mickey Yarbrough's Park. It was never sprayed. Nothing was ever done about that. Now there's an increase of poop. You don't even understand what I'm saying until you go down there and look at it on the tables and on the chairs. And
Been hard to
Are you suggesting about bird? You talking about the ducks that are down there?
I'm talking about anything down there with poop. So while we have somebody was interested in our parks and stuff, you can cut over it, but that's not going to solve the problem. You're taking up a bit more than you might want to chew. So there's so much. You have to go before you cut me off. I'm finished actually, but I just think we ought to think about it and have this fine gentleman to understand it before we go down there. And that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Is there a concern?
Just very quickly, because it's more than just
Can you
parks.
come up to the mic?
Yes, sir.
Well, you
And
only want to do Riverview Drive. It's not.
Yeah.
Right. But he said maintenance of the streets or something. So what we need to do, being elected officials, is to make sure that, for one, is that a local or a major street? Which one is it considered as? And if in fact it would eliminate the city from anything of having to fix it up if
Yeah.
they're taking over the, you know what I'm
They're
saying?
not taking over
Yeah.
the street, they're just cleaning it up.
Well, yeah,
So, and I reached out to
I'm just saying, no, legislatively, it just needs to be.
I reached out to MDOT
Be
before I
or something.
contacted you guys. And
So, City Manager, Little, is there anything that we need to know that we don't know that will put us into jeopardy or liability or anything?
No, sir, there isn't. We just simply need to move it along and let it be done. This is the same kind of thing the Lions and Kiwanis and every other organization's been doing for the last 100 years.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is there a
Put the motion on the floor.
motion's already been made, but I try to push this forward. Is there consensus?
Yes.
Thank you.
See, now I learned.
Thank you. This is crazy. I gotta keep on pressing the button. Ain't no way I can tape it down.
Who's doing the female? You represent both male, female?
no, I don't have anything to do with the sorority.
Number 2, approval of Alpha Cap.
And make sure you let everybody.
I gotta take it over.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm sure.
All right, approval of Alpha sorority, adoption of Britain Play Park for maintenance and upkeep for the year 2025. Anybody here, the brother? Oh, you're not Alpha?
No, Miss Erin Hudson is the person that represents the AKA sorority. She made the offer that they will adopt the Brenton Play Park, which I've been advised that the correct number for that is the Kids Park, I believe it is. Yeah, that apparently was designated some years ago by the people who donated it to the city. And they essentially will be doing the same thing, but they'll be taking care of the park itself there on the corner and keeping it in good shape for the youth and the kids. And we certainly appreciate AKA for their offer to do this. It will also help the city and help the citizens.
Dr. Times, Dr. Donald J. Times, MD.
Yeah, question on what you're, yeah, on Britain, there's two parks. There's one by Colfax and then there's one on Pipestone. Are we talking about the one on Pipestone or the one, by Colfax?
Pipestone and Britain.
Okay. All right, so you had a body that was there maintaining that, or you had them there doing activities, at that. So two issues. So one, I think, helping out is a great idea, 100%. Is there a reason this gentleman came and why the AKAs are not here? And can we just say, let them do this when they don't have representation or presentation?
I don't believe representation is really necessary. I indicated to them, and they said they wouldn't be able to be here this evening, that we would simply present it and know exactly what they're going to do, just as this gentleman just described, for what they're going to do. And again, this isn't something new.
No, I just want to make sure, if they told you and they knew you weren't going to be here, we didn't have the information, so we're good.
Yeah.
Then if they said that they couldn't make it, then we could move it forward.
Yes,
But we didn't have that knowledge, you had that knowledge.
certainly.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Donald Jeffrey Times. They're not gonna be here to bring the presentation if we move forward. Commissioner Warren, then Commissioner Mary Alexander.
I just had one point for clarity. The park on Pipestone in Britain, I thought it was called Pipestone Park. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the right park.
We are. It's been referred
Different.
to by a number of different names.
It was Hightower Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the same part, right on the corner there, where we had last year, where those signs put in for those kids to read as they go through there and so forth.
Commissioner Mary Alexander.
Okay. Do I have to come up?
Yep, you two
No,
seconds.
no problem. Hold on.
We don't
I'm
need to.
exercising. I'm trying to get better. So my question is basically the same as co-chair, because I've grown up in Benton Harbor. Pipestone Park has always been Pipestone Park at the corner of Britain and Pipestone. Britain Park has always been Britain Park on the edge of Britain and Colfax. So I'm just saying, I'd like clarity.
Is that Pipestone Park or Britain Park?
Pipestone
Can we get
Park is
clarity on
across from the old Tablets Pharmacy, which went from that to Rite Aid, which is now Family Dollar.
that? Which park are we talking about?
The
Hightower
kitty
Park?
park, the kitty
Yeah,
park.
that joke you got, Hightower Park, that's a joke, ain't it?
Please.
Stop saying it then, because you was irritated.
We're saying, the only reason I'm saying that is because it's right across the street from there.
Don't do that.
And,
It is right across the street from Family Dollar and on the corner there.
former Mayor Hightower's.
Can-
And what's the name of the park?
Across from.
Can somebody?
It's a kitty park. The name of it is a kitty park, and it's an old park.
But what's the
Been there
name
for a
of the
long
park?
time.
That's the proper name of the park that she just said.
Can council be?
It's just called the Kitty Park?
That was a name apparently that the benefactors, whom I understand was the same Mayor Clark that donated Jean Clark.
Right,
And
right.
another gentleman, I believe an attorney
Right.
back in that period.
So
And they
It
named
was
it the
Clark
Kitty
Park.
Park.
okay, so can we name it just the adoption of the Kitty Park
Can you?
instead of putting the
We'll
brick
certainly
in
amend
the
it and put
So it
that.
doesn't be an argument for
Yes.
us.
Right, right. Can they just show up at the meeting before you pass the resolution?
Well,
Point
they
of
do.
order, Chair,
Well,
point
they
of
do.
order, please. You're driving me nuts.
Will they be here? Would
I suspect they will.
yeah. Can we have them here for the final vote?
I'll ask them to be here. Yes.
Thank you. Is there approval to move?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, thank you. Approval of purchase of property from Michigan Department of Natural Resources within the Ox Creek project area. Is there a short presentation on that?
Basically, this is a piece of property along Ox Creek. We previously identified some requirement, but this one we have not. They're basically make them available for public uses, such as a project that we're doing, for only $300.
Can we see it, Chair?
How much is that? How much you paying for it?
$300.
You said it one more time.
$300.
Okay, well, where is it at?
South of Ox Creek and forgetting the name
Is it Veteran
of
Harbor?
the street. Yes, it's in Benton Harbor.
Can we see the pictures so we can see like in the other presentation?
I don't have a picture here with me.
So they're selling us the property for $200
Yes.
for Ox Creek for us to continue to do what we're doing
That's right.
with the multi-million-dollar grant we got, right?
Yes, exactly.
So we're buying it for $300?
Yes, sir.
All right, is there any way you can find a picture somewhere so we can? I mean, I don't, for $300, I mean, you can't buy 2 bags of groceries.
Yeah, really. And this
Is that it
is
right there? Just put it up on, there it is right there.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Madam Clerk's on the ball tonight. She didn't cancel my meeting. So, you see it right there? Could you zoom in a little bit?
Okay, wait, that's,
Zoom in,
okay,
zoom.
that's Washington.
Right here.
Okay, where is that?
Washington is
Okay, that's
on.
Ross. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
So it's Washington and Ross Street right there. And they're willing to give
Those
it
are the
to
home, I grew up in that
Ox
house.
Creek is running
I grew
right.
up right there. It was 2 twin homes right
So they're
there.
willing to give it to us for $300.
Yes.
Take it.
Get wise on them.
I think they
Dr.
go,
Tynes has the floor, please.
Yeah, this point of clarity, this is an understanding, so I have no problem with the purchasing, so we're using that, is that for a point of access, or why do we need that particular piece of property a little bit distant from our street? Is for access or why?
It will be used as a point of access as well as possibly also a supplemental area for people to barbecue and so forth. We're gonna be doing those all up and down through that process too. But everything that's within the immediate bounds of that Ox Creek area, we're going to be trying to acquire.
Thank you. That's just like on,
So to allow access, is that, so the goal here is $300 so that, and I'm thinking from an earlier gentleman to allow access to be able to work on Ox Creek and then later to have access for public use. Is that?
All of the above, exactly.
I want to appreciate you, Director Little, City Manager Little, because you're doing basically the same thing that Cornerstone was doing to us for years. Is buying property and prime property just like they did on Buena Vista, where you can go down there, you can't buy a lot without trying to intersect with them.
Mhm.
And they put all that stuff down on Buena Vista. If you haven't been on Buena Vista, you need to look.
Yeah.
You know, you go down there, fish, smoke dope, do whatever you want to do.
Drink whiskey.
Drink whiskey, do whatever you want to do. Take your prostitute down there, whatever you want to do. You know,
Wow.
And be happy, whatever you want to do. So,
You're being
you're doing what was done before, but we need that property.
Yes, we do.
And it's just true. I mean, they, anytime we can get the property, God ain't making no more.
Exactly.
And so we need this piece of property to make it accessible to our residents and our people for $300. I don't see a problem with it.
And if I might, just for a historical fact, that area you're talking about down on Buena Vista, that was a site that was decided on back in 1986 to put a minimum security prison on, that people raised sand about until they withdrew the offer.
And
But
that
the
was good,
governor
too.
offered to put a 500-bed medium security prison
Yep.
here in Benton Harbor
Yep.
and to hire half of the 500 people that would be necessary to operate it from here in the area. People
Jobs.
squawked and raised sand and whatnot until we gave it up, and what's there at KPEC now was our consolation prize.
Thank
They
God.
pay
that
us
didn't happen.
nothing.
But I
You
know
gonna put us
there's
in
not a
the
whole lot of people who were around back at that time.
Yeah.
But I was involved in that, doing my darndest to try to get them here in the city. The
Man, we
governor
got to be
told me
citizens
specifically,
too.
he says, we spend 25 million on foodstuffs and so forth, 7 million on dentistry. He says, and the payroll would basically fuel the economy of this city for years and years. But folks were raising sand, they didn't want it.
Just like the
God
casino.
is good. God
Man,
is so good.
Great.
Commissioner,
So I just had a comment, we're buying at, that's where I had my cleanup at, I
Mhm.
think it was earlier this month. And I noticed that lot 5, so this is lot 7 for block 949, lot 5 is up for auction right now. So we getting that one at a minimum of $100 bid.
Should do.
We're gonna take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because most of the property behind that and so forth, city already owns. And we're gonna take a look at that.
Yeah, because Dane was there and he mentioned that Ox Creek is behind,
Right.
but he said it was an easement back there.
can we not just get that from the county?
I'm going to approach them.
Yeah. Without having to purchase?
The only thing I will say is there
You
is
can't
a,
get it without having to pay for it.
Why?
Unfortunately, what
Alex
is
gave
the
right.
situation? Unfortunately, what the situation is now is whenever we get property from the county, we have to pay whatever outstanding taxes remain.
one other just thing to add, with what I'm referring to, lot 5, it is a house that we have to tear down.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And thank you for cleaning up over there because I went over there and it wasn't easy at all. And then they came right back and did it again. And then I been complaining about them cameras and I heard that earlier, but we're gonna talk about that further too, because we need them everywhere. Because we can't keep spending our money and then having to keep spending over and over. I want to thank you because my question becomes, is that a mitigated piece of property if we're having to purchase it from DNR?
No.
Okay, good. I grew up right there, and there was a twin house right next door to it, same colors. There's a house down the street of an older lady that we used to pick at her farm as children, and her property goes all the way down in the valley, but ours didn't. Can you look at that whole area? Because it really needs to be developed. I want to thank you because I can appreciate and see the bigger vision of sliding down over by the Boys and Girls Club in the wintertime. All of that we've discussed in the master plan of the Hall Park.
My question would be, because I love the idea of it being open for barbecuing for the people in the community over there, stairs. Would that remove the other stairs or just an extra set of stairs? I think that'd be so cute, so neat.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That was a subject of discussion today in a
Really,
meeting that we had.
I'm just a visionary, that's all.
Setting 2 sets of them. I understand there was one years ago where children would take that walk down.
It was the
Wooded
step and
Creek
then we
to come
slide.
up on this side to go to the high school
Yeah.
when it was
Yeah.
right there where John Marshall
Back, yeah,
homes are right now. And we're talking about restoring, putting that back and possibly one other one for people to walk across here.
yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deidre Fields. I'm wanting to acquire, as I have done different things in the community in regards to engagement, and a couple things stood out. Someone sent it to me, let me know that about us obtaining property and things of that nature, right? So I know we had an event a couple times at Pastor Palmer's church here on Pipestone. And then we were talking about this overflow in the lot area, and then I learned that the city owns 272 Pipestone. I think that's the correct correct address, but how, and then I have a couple of them city-owned properties that are next to
Are we
some
talking,
homes.
are we talking about?
What is the process of,
Are you talking about, number 3?
Well, I think she's.
I'm talking about, no, I'm asking rather, how the city are obtaining different lots. What is the process for lots to be obtained that the city owns?
Okay, do me a favor.
Mhm.
There's public comments.
Okay,
after the next,
okay.
And then you'll be recognized and then
Okay.
we'll go for that. Thank you.
Move that we move it forward.
So moved.
Thank you. Number 3 has been moved forward. Number 4, approval of contract for operation and maintenance of Ben Arbor Water Plant and Distribution Center.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that presenting you tonight and prepared to answer any questions that you might have on it. There's been a great deal of work personally that I've had to put into this because in terms of trying to manage your city, the 3 largest draws on general fund are the police department, the water department, and the public works department. So it's extremely important to manage and try to control cost in those areas, because as you do so, you also control your general fund and what you'll have to do, other necessary things that have to take place in the city. Previously, when this first started, before I got here, we had city people doing certain things, and then there was a contract with F&B, basically to provide several people with the appropriate licenses that were required by the state. Over the time between then and now, as the city did less and they had to do more, but it was not covered under the contract as routine work, it added a huge amount to the cost because all of it was extra. And fortunately, during a good portion of that period, the city had those $1 million from ARPA. That's gone now. We don't have it. We can't do that anymore. So it was very necessary. Excuse me, just one moment, please.
All right. Go ahead and answer that.
Let me call you back.
I don't want you to wait.
Oh, I'm loaded.
Madam Booth? Chair, question.
Let him finish.
I'm back. So as I was gonna say, we basically, with the discussions and negotiations that have gone on for this contract, it was to include everything necessary as routine operations, cover that cost, not incur all of the additional markups and so forth, because we just can't afford to pay it. We don't have the money for it. And that has enabled us to come up with a contract that's fair to F&B and also fair to the city. And it spells out basically, well, as you already know, we don't have the expenditure currently of what we were spending with city people duplicating work or supposedly doing it, even though it wasn't getting done. And now, as most everything is included, with the exception of non-routine kind of situations that might come up, that might require extra, and even with those, we reserve for ourselves in this contract the right to purchase whatever materials, equipment, and items like that are needed, and likewise to put together bids if we need a subcontractor to go out so we can get the best price we can for any subcontractors that come in, as opposed to somebody just being come in and we never know. So we've done a lot of things in here, and it's now ready for passage, and pleased to bring it before you this evening.
We got a question, I think. We got a question? Do you have a question? Clerk, do you have a question? Dr. Chines, then Commissioner Adams.
Through the chair, question one, the role of F&B in the past, were they involved in the water department prior to this, and during the times when we had difficulty with our water department? And two, what's being done nationally with the storm drain and stormwater collection? They were actually lifting up, putting these filter screens to catch the debris to cut down the leaves and papers going into the fresh water. Is that going to be included in the system? So number one, what's the history of, is this a new contract? Have they been there before? And if they've been here before, then, we need to look at them based on the problems that we have. So that's what I'm asking on the chair.
The answer is that they were present there and had a role before. I believe since 1921 or 22, but their role that they were contracted for at that time was limited. It was supposed to supplement what the city was doing. They simply were providing people with the licenses required by the state in order for us to be able to operate a plant. But what occurred is more and more of the things that the city operation would have been expected to do was not done, and it fell to them, and they all became add-ons, additional money.
Mr. Adams. Mr. Adams?
And here we are. Okay. So this company that we chose out of the three choices that we had, that's who we talking about, right?
That's correct.
Okay, did he do his job, his due diligence in doing what he said that he would do? We're working with our school or the college, with some of the students that live locally in that field of work. Has he been training them? Because he said that he would. When are we going to stop allowing people to do us the way they do us? Just like Avonmarsh, we need an advisory board to go over contracts that go through there. And just like this right here, we knew that we were going to come to this point. But it was actually within the negotiations that he started working with someone locally and started training them. But we are where we are. And there's a lot of talks going on around the country because they're trying to sneakily privatize our water systems, not just Benton Harbors. And outsourcing, crumbs at a time will eventually get us there. We live in Michigan. I can't believe that this was on this agenda, but I met a young lady today at this event over here when Clinton came. And she lives in Berrien County, and she was complaining. They utilizing their own waste because legislatively they have septic tanks. So they're hit. I mean, we should count our blessings, but we need, in the midst of those negotiations, I remember the governor saying that, and some others saying that, well, surely we could use the groundwater, why not? Nestle's using it and selling it to us when we should be able to use it ourselves. For us to utilize that and eliminate the water filtration plant would be in a long run cheaper, but it'll take us a while to get there. Hear me when I say this, especially if this election go the way I'm praying that God allows it to. Now is the time to start on making plans to utilize our groundwater. We have the freshest water source in the world in Lake Michigan. And those of us that are here are blessed to be here. We have our own jewel. We have the gold. And it's time for us to start utilizing it and finding ways to sell some, to bring in money. How long we been talking about that? Every bit of what, 18, 20 years too? And here we are. I'm not a hamster, and I ain't on nobody's wheel. I got this letter today. When I got home, it was in the mail. Drinking water test results. I was broken out, and I didn't know why. So I work with people that I can send my water to. I shouldn't have had to. I'm working on trying to obtain some funding to start our own testing facility. See, I be busier than people think or than I know with the school. But people don't know that the water that's coming through is very important to keep using filters because the water is full of, what is it?
Phosphates.
No. Other chemicals. I mean, not chemicals. No, lead. Not lead, but it's the other.
Phosphate, fluoride.
No.
Calcium.
No.
Chlorine.
It was very unhealthy. I do know that. Because if it's breaking my skin out, imagine what it's doing inside if we're drinking and cooking with it, if we're not utilizing a filter on our water system. So I'm just hoping that in the midst of all this, Mr. Little, that you hear me and we can work together moving forward and hopefully train our children. We have a swimming pool. We live by a lake. We had so many that have drowned to start working with our schools more and trying to create jobs, future jobs for our children to run their own water plant, whatever it may look like when the time comes. And money and all.
I have a question. Based on what the commissioner was saying, I need to get clear. Is this company a reliable company? Because it was kind of almost like it wasn't, and there was the threat of losing the filtration plant. So I wanted to make sure that get those two things cleared up.
The state, it was a mandate. We had to choose between three options. And we were just coming out of emergency management and still things were fuzzy and we had to make a decision ASAP because by then they had put chemicals in the water to try to slow down the erosion in the pipes.
How was the water test though?
Oh, mine, it was some type of, what is she called? I'll get this to you, Dr. Time. That's right, to explain, I don't know this, but it's important that we teach our children.
All right, so can we,
You can throw it away when you're done with it.
If I could, I want to respond to one question that was asked. And yes, this company is reliable. It is certified as one of the more highly respected companies in this field. And, if I might just say, throughout my career as I've gone into different cities, and everyone is a different situation, has a history, a past, and then has people's aspirations and hopes for the future. What I do when I get there is an extensive assessment of what is reality today. And when I get that picture lined out, I take what I can from past and look toward what people's aspirations and hopes are, and then begin to develop a way to get there. In this particular situation, the commission voted and decided it wanted to keep its water facility. I took that as a mandate to me when I got in this seat, and I have been working on that. This contract, every word in it, I've written, rewritten, debated, discussed, and whatnot, changed, and there's probably 20 iterations of it that have gone back and forth between us. But ultimately, the objective is one, meet the requirements that the state has placed on the city to make sure its water operation is in fact what it should be, that we meet these standards in terms of testing for different chemicals and compounds and whatnot that we can, and then to do it in the most efficient manner that we can. Because what I found, especially with cities like Benton Harbor, there are forever some players somewhere that have maybe not your best intentions at heart. So we're trying to get to where we need to go. And right now, this is the best way to do it. You all know that for the last year, in fact, probably 2.5 years, you were getting letters from the state about a TMF plan. You recall they came here and sat and talked to you about a TMF plan. After I came into the seat, we requested 2 or 3 extensions in order to give me time to get all of this information and make sure that I understood it, knew what to do with it, and could put it together. And then we gave them our response in a TMF letter. So this is the final key step that they have been asking about month after month after month. Now, you said that you were going to operate it by contract, which we did, because we were down to 2 choices: contract to do it ourselves. How can you do it yourself if you don't have any certified people to do it? So that wasn't a choice. So we say we're going to contract it. And they kept saying, all right, have you got a contract yet? No, but I'm working on it. And that's because I did not want to rush it. I wanted to make sure I didn't make mistakes that would cost the city. Got it where I want it to be now. I'm prepared to bring it forward to you and to tell you that this is in the best interest of the city.
thank you. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I always have to bring my human infrastructure into it. Now, the city of Benton Harbor has been trying for decades to raise up people in the community to help run the city. That hasn't happened and not very well. Even when F&B came on board the first time, by pretty much order of the state. A lot of things happen. And 8 months later, we get a lot of findings. And now I understand the findings came because they were under contract for lesser services than we were actually needing. So, and I know that doing my own research that they are a competent company. But my question is, did we input an avenue to bring up a Benton Harbor resident into that position? I know we got everybody that was at the water plant left except one, maybe two. So my question is, will we get some leaders out of our residents?
To be very honest, out of this contract, no. This is only a 2-year contract at this point. But the problem is that, one, you've got to have people with both the interest and the ability. I know, you know as well as I do, that we had employees that had been taking that test 7, 8, or 9 years and never passed it. You can't make people pass something that they're not prepared for. You can only provide an opportunity. Now, one of the other things that was also part of a problem, because a year ago, I contacted my alma mater, Southern Illinois University down there, because I know they actually have a building with wastewater facilities, water treatment facilities. They're one of the few places in the Midwest that can actually train people to the level that they can not only pass the test, but also can operate these facilities. I approached them and asked them, I sent them a copy of our job description and said, what are the possibilities of our being able to hire some of the graduates out of school? He called me back and he said, your possibility is 0. I said, why? He says, because what you're paying your people there, these folks are coming out of here making 3 times that. And that's because one of the things that happened with your emergency manager is they cut all those rates and so forth. And one, the rates that the people make or pay, that's what, when I came in the door, I was hearing everybody debate to you all about was that the emergency manager had cut their wages and they never gotten it all back yet. The reality is there is a market out here all around us and people get hired to do jobs. That's also the problem I was running into across the street at Dollaride. As fast as I would train somebody to get their CDL, they'd be with us 3 or 4 months and then they're out there driving one of those big trucks because they can make 3 times as much money. So this is a process. We don't have the ability to just say, no matter how hard we want to or try to, that we can just walk out here in the city, in the neighborhood, and pick up some people and put them in one of these positions. We can put them in the opportunity. They've got to do it, and even send them to school, like the people we had. We paid for them to go to school, paid people to come down here to train them here.
Let's see what
It still never worked.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, we had consensus. I can get now, we have the clarity, and to address the commissioner, for that everybody, for everyone's understanding. So the letter basically stated that that there was mild contaminant in the water of 0.154 in terms of lead. Copper was 9.148, and to put those in perspective, that would be 0.154 and 15 parts per billion, which would equal just a 1% presence of lead in the water. And in terms of the copper, the 9.148, that would be into 1,300 parts per billion, which would equals 0.1%, which is sort of a non-action item in terms of the state. So,
It was another
but what's important, what she said is that there's no safe value of lead in the body, so using filters would still be a good idea in this particular case.
So we got a consensus to move this forward. Thank you, Dr.
Why
Turner.
not make one more statement on this?
One more statement on this.
2 years, we're gonna have F&B there for 2 years. That's enough time to prepare. If we put it in the agreement that they have an opportunity, or 2 years is a long time to go without. So if we can get a person to come up, and who knows, they might want to take, the rumor is that they want the water plant.
Yeah.
Rumor is they want the water plant. Now, if it's a big rumor, then action proves it. They've already taken the water plant out of Gene Clark Park's
Stop
protection,
playing and go and give it to
and
them.
nobody knows how it happened. So if F&B is going to really take over, then we need to put things in place right now so they will be able to pull a resident up.
Actually, I misspoke earlier because we really do have, as I thought you said earlier, someone, they hired a couple of the people that we have here. The contract and the staff that F&B had back in April a year ago, there was nobody, I don't believe, on their staff that was local. That was one of the hidden costs that we were running into, was every time that something had to be done, they had people have to drive up from Indiana to be here. We now have 4 people on staff out here that are local. One of them came right from city staff here. That was one of our best performing people, and they hired him.
So they are Benton Harbor residents.
They do have.
You said 4? Oh, okay, because I know about 2, so therefore I need that kind of information, so it'll guide me to some happiness and some peace.
Thank you.
So if you would provide that for us.
Don't do that.
And one more thing, the RFP that we're sending out for that grant for Ox Creek, we need to see that before it's out. So through the chair, would you ask?
I will. I'll get that for you.
Thank you.
Public comments? Or you got something you want to say? Add to
About the water, yeah. I just wanted you to know, what are we doing if we're gonna have to pay this person more out of pocket to create some jobs, to add to the tax base? See, we're good at spending and coming up with those type of ideas, but I'm just saying, because I caught the flux for fighting as hard as I did, the only one that's bringing in some millions now. Come up with some of them. Can we do that?
Thank you. Public comments, and then we're gonna adjourn this meeting. Young lady.
Adidra Fields again. So I don't know, I guess I was confused from the different conversations that have happened. The continual questions. I thought we were talking about purchasing and properties and things of that nature. So like city-owned lots and locations, how do you acquire them? How do you purchase them? Are they?
Did you say 272 Blackstone?
Yeah, that is shared with Pastor Palmer's church, which is how I learned about that one. Because I didn't know the city owned it.
We don't.
No, the city owns the driveway.
Right,
so which is
that's
the
part,
access
that's
to
like,
the
oh, I
building.
thought that was a parking lot. But okay,
So it's not the driveway, it's the driveway, which is the
not the parking
actual
lot.
way to get into the building. So you can't get into the building unless you go through the driveway. And right next to it is the parking lot that we own, which is 272 Park Street. But right, the city owns the driveway and then we own the parking lot. So sandwiched in between the building and the parking lot, that's what the city owns. So the city controls access to the building. And then, and Palmer is on the other side of the parking lot, where his church is at with his Bethel Restoration.
Are we gonna put some parking meters on this?
No, okay, okay,
So,
so they own so the city owns the
So
driveway,
we
not the
own,
actual.
we own 272, who owns,
Driveway, you own the driveway.
who owns 272 Pipestone?
The city,
Is that, because
Who owns
For clarity-
272 Pipestone?
I believe the city owns 272 Pipestone.
driveway.
so it was showing up
So
as,
do we own the driveway or the property is 272?
We have a portion of the driveway area through that and property behind it.
So who owns the parking lot?
We own part of it, and I believe Keep It Real Ministries owns
Correct.
part of it.
So sandwiched right in between the building and the parking lot, the driveway is owned by the city, which controls access to the building. So therefore, technically, the city can deny access to the building.
May I answer?
Can we, all right, so the question for the public, I do apologize, Ms. Fields, for cutting you off. I want to let you finish, then we'll respond. I think you're the only one that has a public comment. So go ahead and you have the floor, and then after that, then Mr. Little, City Manager Little will respond.
so with a question, is the question solely for you, or do I have to bring it before the committee? I didn't know like how that worked. And so like, I actually have events planned. And so how much parking lot do we have? And then if it's, and then this is weird. So how does that work on the driveway into a space?
What building are you using?
Pastor Palmer Church, but he said that he doesn't own the church doesn't own the entire space. So I didn't know he was referencing a driveway versus the entire lot.
You probably need to get them together with Pastor Times and Keep It Real Ministry, Pastor Reverend Dr. Donald Times.
Because I'm saying if it's like food trucks and there's different things there, and then it's like, this isn't private, or this isn't the church, this strip right here is the cities, and then this one is,
Are you
It's just
coming
a
to
lot.
purchase it, or?
I wanna know how that works, because
When I told,
when I asked,
they can use the parking lot, I told them, I can supply, electrical and what they need, but the driveway is owned by the city. I own the building and the parking lot, but the driveway is owned by the city.
Right.
So I can bring the electrical supply out to whatever they need, across the city's property.
City Manager Little, can you speak to that, please?
Yes, sir. In the instance of what I'm hearing described, you simply need to get permission from the city if need be to use it. But I thought I heard you asking a larger question about properties in general.
Mhm.
The city is acquiring different properties for different reasons. The greatest number and the greatest reason is we're attempting to reestablish construction of new housing in the city and anticipate utilizing lots all over the city to try to help make that process occur. As a matter of fact, all the commissioners received a copy, and members of Planning Commission and the others of the recent study that we had done by the University of Michigan, given an outline of what the challenges and what the solutions would be to help make that happen. This city has for well over 40 years practically given away property to people who basically were all going to build something new
Push the
and
button.
whatnot. And I'm talking into it. And in essence, you can look and see it hasn't happened. Some of these properties are back in the city's hands for the fourth and fifth time, where they've gone through the cycle of not having taxes paid, whatever, and they wind up back with us. Except that we sold them for $50, but to get them back the next time, we gotta pay all the taxes on them, and it may be $1,000 to get them back. So, but it's a part of a plan that we have to climb out of the economic hole that we're in, get this population up above this 9,000 that we have, and start to rebuild this city.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So, 2 questions. So I had additional property. So there's some on the block of Thrasher. I can't remember if it's 500, but before Fair, right? That I really wanted to inquire about other ones as well. I wanted to come to this meeting because this is economic development. But then I still had a further question as to, is there a particular reason that the city still owns whatever part of the lot between Dr. Tynes and Pastor Palmer's property? Because instead of like keep getting permission from the city, it'd be easier just to be able to use it.
Sell the property. Okay, Honorable Chair, after as a reverend and a pastor, the bottom line is this, is that I've talked to Mr. Little about purchasing the property, not even giving it to property, because the stuff that happened prior with the property, it was not his administration. And all I want to do is have my driveway clean. And Mr. Little, in his mindset, is that he wanted to, I'm sorry to use the word, but extort me in terms of give my driveway. I don't want to use that, but he wants another property in exchange, a building, the Taekwondo building, in exchange for the driveway. And then at the same time, you're going to mention that you want to purchase property, have access to Ox Creek, but deny me access to my building. That's what Mr. Little has done and said today. So how can you allow access for your Ox Creek, but now allow me to purchase access to my own building? So I need that to be explained to me, Honorable Chair.
Well, not in this public setting, but I will speak with the city manager, and we will provide a documented resolution for that. I don't think that's something that's public. I mean, the public needs to, we don't need to go with that just at this point.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, there is one part that I think the public does need to realize, and that is this. As I was saying a little earlier about trying to rebuild this community needs tax base. We don't need more properties to go into non-tax paying status. As I indicated to Dr. Tynes, and as I say to anybody else who comes talking about city property, bring me somebody that's ready to build a house, build a building, a business or whatever on some of this property, and the city will sit down with them and work out a deal to get it done. But we don't turn it over and here you got it. Now wait 20 years to see if you'll build something. You want to build it, we make an agreement to do it. You get prepared to do it. We put a restriction on that deed, and then we start putting together what needs to happen. We got enough property that's not paying taxes in the city.
And you're talking about a driveway, and he's going on tangential. So that's just, all I want to do, Honorable Chair, is just to deal directly with the driveway and access to the property, which should be the right of any person using a facility, living facility, not the sidebar.
So wait a second before you leave, city manager. Do we own up to the door?
Right up to the, just maybe, yeah, right along the walkway of the building is
Center door,
that part, I'm not sure, but pretty close. I don't know.
where the overhang is.
Yes, that's the city. So right there, that's the city-owned property, the driveway, the actual driveway.
Where the overhang is.
Correct.
And it's also an access from Pipestone directly to the property that we own behind it. And as I said to Dr. Tynes when we were talking, if you're talking about putting a business in there or some development that's going to contribute to the city, pay taxes and provide jobs and whatnot, then we'll work with you to try and get that done.
We're talking about a driveway, sir. That building is already designated for a program. And,
Can we, can we bring that back to the next meeting and, try to find a feasible way to,
all I want to do is purchase a driveway to have access to my building, to my property. You just today, saying to purchase $300 to have access to the Ox Street, but yet I'm being denied access to my building. And I spoke with Mr. Little on several occasions for several months about having access. He allows everyone else access to their property, but me. Is it personal?
The city is building something there.
You're not the city, sir. You're a city manager, but you have commissioners. So all I want to know is, to me, you told me, you personally said that you do not want me to have that property only if I give you 240 Kovacs. So that's not how a city manager works. That's not how a city works. Sometimes it's not the institution, it's the individual. So I'm speaking
We
to the
said to
individual.
you that one possibility would be a trade of properties. You have quite a string of properties that are off the tax rolls. And one of them happens to be right there near Colfax. We said, okay, if you want it, why not trade one of them? Call it what you want, but if the city.
Trade a driveway for a recreational place where kids are going Taekwondo.
city
Before-
manager, Little, before you go?
Yes.
Is there any way possible that, we can get together and try to figure something out? I mean, cause, the thing is, I don't want anybody leaving with bad taste.
Purchase my driveway.
The problem is.
I'm not asking you to give it to me. I'm asking you to let me buy my driveway, my access. You have a driveway to your house, let me have a driveway to mine.
Now, before the city manager leaves, could I, a citizen, have one request?
Yeah, go ahead before you leave.
I guess it was Albemarle what was doing the storm drains. And I was telling him for a long time that it was clinging. Every time you go down Broadway, check yourself. That sound is never left. And they have I don't know, they call it plates or something that you can put in those things. Other storm drains don't make that noise. And at night, it's loud. And I've asked, I've even said I wouldn't even ask again. But here I am again. Would you, through the chair,
I'll see if we can find a way to tackle it.
What block, do you know?
1100 block.
Okay, 1100 block.
And they
I
know,
understand.
they know exactly where I'm talking about.
Okay.
We'll look
Yeah.
into it and see if there's a way, maybe we can get a tack weld or something that'll hold that steady.
How's the sound?
Like the new ones that's on Main Street, click, click, click.
Clack,
Click, click,
when you go by and at night, that is loud. You
What
know,
is it, like ding, ding, ding?
you know, it's clack, 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 inside.
Metal, hitting
Metal
metal.
to metal.
Like clack, clack, clack?
The storm drain, what would a storm drain sound like if it was clacking?
It's
Can you
loud.
check on that, please, Mr. Little?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Again, and I appreciate you for doing it too.
Mr. Chairman, we can talk if we.
Yeah, please, let's talk about that driveway issue.
we
I
can-
don't want anybody to leave with any bad taste in their mouth about that.
But I would say this, Mr. Chairman, and that is understand that all over the city, there are people who are saying, I want this property, it's next door to my house. I want this property, I've been cutting grass. I want this property, I've been doing that. Either we're gonna do something for the city or do
None of that is denying
whatever the
access.
commission wants. But just because somebody starts to making a bunch of noise that, as if they own it already, like I said, there's a way to do this. If you're gonna develop something there, business, house.
Not on the driveway, sir. Stop it. Not on the driveway, sir.
You don't
Let the
have to
person
do it
have
on the
access to
driveway.
the building. We're talking about a driveway. Let the person have access to the building.
Point of order, Chair. Point of order,
Thank
Chair.
you.
We will discuss that soon, Mr. Little.
Thank you. Put it back on the agenda.
And that would be,
That it?
anything else, any public comments? adjournment is.
There's a moratorium on selling property.
Okay.
The city is not gonna sell anything to anyone right now.
Okay.
Huh?